Hi, welcome to From Herding Cats to Efficiency That Slaps. I'm Ryan Coyne, the Chief Technology Officer of SERHANT. Everybody just calls me Coyne because the CEO of the company is also named Ryan, and that got confusing when I started working with him a very long time ago. In today's presentation, we're going to be talking about a bunch of different exciting stuff about how ClickUp has helped us to nominalize and focus the organization. A little bit about me is that I'm the CTO and super nerd of the most followed real estate brand in the world. We combine luxury real estate with multimedia production and online sales education, and even developing really exciting custom apps and technology, not only for our agents, but also for our many thousands of followers that choose to opt into our educational material and courses and different content that we provide. So we're going to go over how ClickUp can help you unravel email threads, which are the bane of any organization's existence. Too much internal email, losing things in threads, having to read back, answering questions that were intended for you, but then burying something by accident that's important for others to be able to read. Recognizing that your silos and your business units and departments within those business units are not actually as siloed as they may think. We're going to talk about how to get teams to coordinate their processes, how to get handoffs between different departments going properly to give them the freedom to customize and control their own workflows without seeming like they have to follow somebody else's process. How to maximize your efficiency through automated interdepartmental notifications and linked tasks, and also how to make the most of the platform's hyper flexibility to insert and adapt new hybrid teams and remote work, all without disrupting projects, production, or service. Sirhan is synonymous with luxury real estate throughout the entire world, of course. Now, to certain people in the know, we're synonymous with other things like that online sales education I mentioned earlier, and also with media production as the only real estate brokerage that has a fully in house media production team. Now, one of the things people don't know is that in order to make sure all these business units and teams work, in order to result in us being the most followed real estate brand in the world, it takes a lot of effort to get that all moving. It's easy when you are a small team, and it gets much harder as you scale and attempt to tackle the bigger challenges as you grow. So, a book I like a lot is Forming, Storming, Norming, and Performing. For us, this happened from our launch in September of 2020 all the way through now that we're more than 300 individuals across 14 states and more than our 5.3 million followers. Early inefficiencies and chaos were carefully adapted and improved to become much better and to result in much greater than the sum of our parts. Um, I'm a big proponent of the adage. There's nothing more permanent than a temporary solution. Don't cut corners now to achieve what you think and you are mistaking for speed and efficiency when it actually will be a compound problem that is much more expensive and much more difficult to go backward later. It's important to slow down and do things properly. So I put here, and you can see that, like all early companies, once we hit our big growth stride, that's when we discovered a lot of different gaps in processes and different things that needed to be improved. That what got us that far was not going to carry us the rest of the way. A lot of companies can relate to this. So, because we're a vertically integrated real estate machine that includes these different units that I mentioned, this real estate, media, marketing and branding, education, and technology, we had to convince everyone that works across all these business units that putting the time into setting up the right management system across the company was a good idea. Of course, there's going to be pushback. We heard from our multimedia division that their process works just fine for them and they were not encouraged to change it. What does what we do have to do with what that department might need to know? I can just update them via email. That's a popular sentiment that you're going to hear a lot when you're pushing these kinds of initiatives within your own company. It's only from putting all of your processes down on paper, all of your different flows. Now, this is just an example. This is not our actual processes and flows. But once you convince the department heads or command them, if that's your thing, to put these processes and flows down on paper, you will start to see where, oh, well, when this happens, we need to notify that other department or that other business unit that something has taken place. Or this person needs visibility into how soon this will be ready or what the status is. Or maybe leadership needs to know where the points are that we actually do need more people versus more efficiency or maybe a software solution or otherwise that can solve for needing to just grow the team with a hire. Getting all these things on paper about the way that you operate will help inform where the overlaps, collaborations, and reasons to notify others come into play. That is so critical because a lot of people just have this tribal knowledge stuck inside their head. I use the term stuck loosely, of course. They're willing to share it, but you have to ask them. And you have to operate under the what if something terrible happens? What if something that we don't expect takes place that disrupts our ability to rely on the tribal knowledge from people who are already here? You have to encourage people to plan for the future. What happens if they are on a 2 week vacation because they accrued so much PTO? Should this person feel guilty for their entire career about what it means to take time off because things aren't built out in a way that can survive them being gone or enjoying this personal time? What happens when you expand to other markets? What happens if you decide to open up other product lines? What happens if there's a pandemic and you all of a sudden all have to work from home and you can't rely on what made Delta Airlines so successful when they made their big change a dozen or more years ago, when they just started putting people in the same room next to each other physically so that one person could overhear a problem that was being reported and already start working on the solution on a different phone because they could audibly get that information. There are transformational effects in our society that we have to not only accept that have happened, but we don't know what's next. We have to be prepared for the future. And using a system, we've become to realize that no matter how separate, our teams are still connected. We're going to take all the different things that I talked about prior and connect them with the fact that if you want to make sure that as the team scales and grows, you stay fully integrated, you stay fully informed, and each person who's either in production or in management, leadership, execution, you name it, that they all have the information they need and it's all talking. Statuses all make sense. The way that processes and things are handled are consistent across the organization. For us, because we're content to commerce, it makes total sense that we would have all these things connected because we want to know that our content and our education is translating to helping our agents and exposing ourselves to all these people. We know that our brokerage, whether it's our standard real estate sales, our signature listings, which are $10 million and greater, our new development division, which sells out entire buildings and works very closely with developers across different spaces, including on things like Central Park Tower, the penthouse of which is $250 million, the tallest residence in the world, the tallest private terrace in the entire world. We have to make sure that the goals and the different things that department is working on are connected properly to our content division that's producing custom content for that. For the things that our agents that are not involved in that project use day to day, how do custom things that we're working on maybe filter down or help and inform other parts of our process when it comes to our metaverse or Hant universe or virtual offices that we're setting up or our education technology platform? It all has to be connected. And it's tempting to let everybody just eat cake and to do everything their own way, to let them just have what they want, get people quiet, get people happy, and figure out the chaos. But strain comes back in. You have to resist this temptation to just give in to people insisting that it's better for them to just run it in that silo and to do their own thing. It does not make sense. Now, to an extent, they will continue to stay siloed. Maybe not every single detail matters, but when it does, it'll be tremendously beneficial that it does. So, when the left hand is talking to the right hand and everybody knows what they're doing, all of a sudden you realize that the solution, taking the time to develop your different spaces, you can see here, I've obscured some of our different spaces here, but this is an example from our organization and how we've broken it down into our different needs for having spaces and containers as ClickUp systems of spaces, folders, and lists, and that kind of hierarchy really helped us. There are certain divisions and business units that have their own space. There are some that we all collaborate in. And it's important to help define by putting all those processes and flows down and getting people's mental walls down and encouraging them that the planning for the future, planning for expansion, planning for all different kinds of things is important to find those overlaps and collaborations so you can identify and not have too many spaces. You don't want to have too much overwhelm either. You also don't want to not have enough. So finding that balance is something that you can achieve. Now, moving on to things like automation and how you can make sure and how we made sure that different things happen automatically based on other things is to realize that automation is key. We don't necessarily want to have to do manual data entry more than is absolutely necessary. So when somebody new is onboarding into the company, they're filling out not just any form, they're filling out a ClickUp form. And that ClickUp form populates a task inside the system with all that data so that the technology team is able to create all that person's accounts, and you can have all the different information go to the right people when it's taken in the first place. And that when a certain task is completed or certain parts arrive at our office or things like that. Speaking from the technology department, it's wonderful that when a delivery comes in of something we're waiting on, it's marked parts received. The IT team is automatically notified that something has arrived. Our onboarding team is really happy that they get notified that somebody has filled out their form that we're waiting on, or that the finance team knows that a person, when they mark them as having signed their information, that their right other team members and other departments are notified that the person has made a commitment and it's time to actually start moving to onboard them and to bring them in and sign them up for different kinds of meetings without having to manually think of all those things. People can just follow their day-to-day workflow. When certain statuses and certain things happen, the right people get notified. It's a chef's kiss emoji, beautiful thing. And you can see that we set things up here. This is just ClickUp's standard automation window. I'll show you an example of one of ours that we have in a moment. But when anything happens, another thing then happens. If this, then that. It's not a new concept. You've seen this in things like Zapier and Make.com, formerly Integromat. And other competitors of ClickUp also have some elements of this. This was the most flexible one that I've ever worked with. It was really wonderful to be able to set up integrations with different things that we use and to be able to define who needs to know and when. It was magical for us to transform. So you can see here an example of what I mentioned a moment ago, that if finance marks that a person is signed and is onboarding, then it automatically sends all the information, 96 plus the amount of fields that are showing there, to a webhook that we set up that then automatically sets up other things. You can be that complex. I could have showed you an easy one, but that's not what you want this for. That's not why you have the CTO of SERHANT walking you through this. So we have very, very complex automations, even beyond what the platform normally includes, helping and working for us. Because the right coordination makes all the difference. You can go from being consumed at the end of the week with anxiety about what you didn't do, who you didn't tell. Maybe there's a process breakdown that you discover and you end up apologizing to people, where instead, we're famous for having the smoothest onboarding process in the entire industry. Whether it's staff or agents that come here, they say, "My goodness, it was easy to get started here. The onboarding was so smooth." That's what we've achieved. A bunch of other things that it's helping us too internally with our different departments and the marketing teams that are working on things and video production that's being done. But to have those kinds of compliments from your customers, that's everything, because tasks are better when you link them together as well. So you might have one department or one person working on something, and maybe there's another task related to that person working somewhere else. you know, Speaking again from the technology department, while we're onboarding a person, maybe I needed to order them a computer. So I have in my procurement area, I have that I'm ordering them a computer and that's ordered, and here's the tracking number. And then the person who's looking at their regular onboarding steps wants to know if I ordered the computer yet. Well, I can link those two tasks together so that it's still a task for the tech department and still a task for our onboarding team. And if they wanted to see the status, it's just a click away because it's in one of those columns. So you can see here that on this, to bring on a new staffer, that our director of operations can see at a glance that the new MacBook Pro for this person is been received and has been provisioned. There's a great example. You can see on this one that we were waiting for the person's response about more information. But you can see that checklist there, we reviewed the equipment needs and all different kinds of stuff, that those things are all done. And that our director of HR, who wants to make sure that this is a smooth hiring process and a smooth onboarding process, has insight and visibility. And I can also see the history that it went from being in progress to that I'm waiting on a third party vendor to then going to waiting for the response from the person about a customization question we had. This is how you manage 350 humans in 14 states. Now, I used to have hair, but that didn't change because of all this. It means I won't lose more of it. It means that what I have left won't go grayer faster than it already is. This one bothers me. So I can tell you from experience, going through all this, choosing to really, really ask of your colleagues, this is an investment. This is a currency we need to trade with each other of patience and time to achieve something that has a long term greater benefit for everybody here. That is how you can be more productive every single day. And that's how we're the most followed real estate brand in the world. And that's herding cats to efficiency that slaps. I really thank you for watching. I've been Ryan Coyne, Chief Technology Officer of SERHANT, and I look forward to you checking us out and ClickUp.